Today on Smith and John Outdoors, I'm going to be talking about arrows. Now, I don't think you should make it too complicated when you are looking for arrows. When you go to a pro shop, they generally have a lot of selections and they're not going to steer you wrong. Now, depending upon uh, how far along you are in hunting, like are you a beginner, are you in the middle, like you've been doing it for a few years, or are you like, I don't want to call it expert, but are you like seasoned? You've hunted a little while. Because, obviously if you're seasoned, you're going to know a little bit more about your setup because you've been through a lot of arrows. A lot of hunters, they will try different arrow setups and different brands and all that stuff over the years. But if you're new, I highly suggest just going to a pro shop, talk to them. They're going to point you in the right direction. There's also a huge price gap in arrows. Like you can go out and buy 6 for $50 and it will do good out to like 20-30 yards. Or if you're like me, I like shooting a little bit more expensive arrows. I personally shoot the Victory VAP TKOs, which are right here. I love these arrows. They're micro diameter arrows. They shoot very well for me, and yeah, I've been shooting these for I think 3-4 years now, and I won't change from them. They've done nothing but good things. I have shot other arrows like these Carbon Express Maximum Reds back when I was like 17, 18. They shot okay, but the VAPs, I've gained a lot more penetration in on deer with the VAPs because they're micro diameter, and they're really strong. They've done nothing but good things for me. So if someone walks up to me and they ask what arrows do you recommend, like I have a couple buddies who are just getting into archery now, if or when they go to buy new arrows, I'm gonna tell them buy Victories, buy VAP TKOs. You can't go wrong. They're just good broadheads. Not broadheads, arrows. Yeah, but there's other arrows you can buy. I know there's like I think Beeman, there's Easton's, and yeah, they're all pretty good arrows. Gold tip, and you can find some good budget friendly arrows options out there, like the VAP TKOs. If you're on a budget, they're not a good arrow to use. Look for like an Easton or like a Beeman, like lower quality. I don't want to call it low quality, but they still do the job. They're still fly straight at 30 yards. Honestly, at 20-30 yards, I'm not that good of an archer to be able to tell the difference between the VAP and the Eastons. I just personally like a thin diameter arrow. And if you're gonna go there, like a little bit thinner, you're gonna spend a little bit. But I definitely do recommend the micro diameter arrows when looking at buying arrows. I also have Easton Axis long range. These are also a micro diameter arrow. Now I use these for my recurve. You can see they have the feathers on it. I got these from my uncle. Haven't shot anything with it, but these are good arrows. Same thing, micro diameter like the VAP TKOs, and I can't say anything really bad about them. They shoot pretty good for me. So that's just a quick rundown of arrows. Now, when you're looking for an arrow to hunt with, something like this run-of-the-mill, Carbon Express, it has just a regular aluminum insert in it. I don't know if you can see that. It's just like 10 grams. A lot of places they sell 100 grain field tips and broadheads. It's the popular size and weight of field tips and broadheads. Personally, I rather go a little heavier up front. It just gives you a little bit more FOC, which stands for front of center. That just makes your arrow fly a little better, and when it hits, it carries through the animal better. I would suggest don't go too much. Like if you're hunting whitetail deer, like what I do, don't go too overboard on it. Last year I was shooting, I think, about 250 grains up front. My total arrow weight was like 550, and personally, I just felt like the bow did not like those arrows that much. With that much weight up forward, the arrow setup, the bow just didn't like it. I didn't like the drop, because I lost my range, because the arrow started dropping sooner, and then if I misjudged the range by a couple yards, I end up missing, which actually happened last year. And I'm not about to miss a deer because I am shooting a 550 grain arrow when a 500 grain arrow would do the same job, no problem. But yeah, you don't need an arrow, a 500 grain arrow to kill a deer. You can use, like I've done it with a 400 grain arrow. If you hit them right spot, it doesn't really matter. But I do recommend, like one friend, he's getting into hunting, I trying to steer him in the direction to buy. You get like 125 grain, but 125 grain broadheads. Put a little bit more weight up front, because that's just going to allow you to get a little bit more penetration, better pass through. I'm going to save like broadhead debate for another video. I'm just going to talk about arrows today, because that's another long discussion. But again, try to put a little bit more weight up front. Now, one of the reasons why I like the VAP TKOs from Victory arrows is they come with the inserts or outserts, whatever you want to call it. They are 50 grains, and 50, I don't know that. They're 50 grains, and that allows to get a little bit more weight forward. So you can use a 100 grain tip with this and still have more weight up front than like these Carbon Express. I don't, because as I said, I personally want a little bit more than like 150 grains up front. I have 200 grains up front. So this total arrow build, when broadhead, my light and nocks and everything, is 500 grains. To me, I like that weight. It gives me a lot of power to blow through a deer, no problem, and I still have a good drop, good trajectory of arrow. Now, I believe that you should try to get as heavy of an arrow as you can that will shoot good at your bow and have a trajectory or like droppage that you can be comfortable with hunting with. So some that's 400 grains, some that's 600. It really doesn't matter. It is really a personal preference. But if you're just starting out, go out, buy a set of arrows from your local sport pro shop. They're gonna set you up right. And again, I suggest try to go a little heavier up front, unless you're shooting like one of these micro diameter arrows, the VAPs, or even the Eastons come with a little heavier outserts too. Then you can do 100 grain because you have the outserts are a little heavier than your typical standard arrows. But if you're shooting a standard arrow, I'd recommend going up to 125 grain point. It also, having a little bit more weight will also quiet your bow down a little bit, and you won't feel as much hand shock, because more of the power or energy from the string getting shot is going to go in the arrow, because it needs more to push the arrow. More energy is going to go in the arrow. All arrows also have spine, so when talking about like spine of the arrow or the stiffness of the arrow, like this arrow is a 300 spine. It's just how stiff it is. So when you shoot an arrow, the arrow will bend a little bit. Now, if you're under spine, it will bend too much and you will get inaccurate arrow flight. If it's too stiff, it won't bend enough and it'll shoot inaccurate. So with compound bows, it's very simple. A lot of the arrows, they have charts on it, and just kind of look at, I'm pulling back 60 pounds with a 20-inch draw. It says it should be shooting 400 spine. And then that's what you just go with, and you cut it to your length. And then your pro shop can tune it, or if you know how to tune your own bows, tune it to the bow to the arrow. With recurve, it's a little different. You kind of have to like find the right, you have to tune, like compound, you tune the bow to the arrow. With recurves, you tune the arrow to the bow. Like for example, this, which is the arrow I use for recurve, I have, I think, 300 grains up front. I have 200 grain, I think it's a 90 grain insert with a 200 grain tip, so almost 300 grains. And I had to do that because if I didn't, it would be over spined, because this is a little stiff. Now, so I had to put a lot more weight up front. So, and the reason why is because when you put more weight up front, you weaken the spine, because you cause more flexion in the arrow. So that's another thing to consider if you want to put a lot of weight up front on your bow. Like say you're shooting 60 pounds and you're like, oh, I want to put 150 or 200 grain broadhead up front, or like a 90 grain insert, 150 grain broadhead, something like that. Go up the next spine above, because you're just going to be a little under spine. I did that last year with my 550 grain arrows, and they tuned right out my bow, but I just felt like with broadheads, they were just a little too sensitive. Like they weren't as forgiving. If I twitched the bow a little bit, the broadheads just kind of wanted to go off on their own, and that has to do with the just a little bit more weight up front. And as with the 500 grain arrow setup, they just shot a lot better out the bow, and even if I kind of made a little torque on the bow, they still shot good. So I went back to the 500 grain because that's just what my bow likes. That's what I felt comfortable with, and that's another big thing when talking about bow hunting in general, is you got to shoot what you feel most comfortable with. And a 500 grain arrow is just what I feel most comfortable with. It's what I recommend. I will always recommend people to kind of go a little heavier. Like 400, 40, 450 is kind of what I want like my other friends to be shooting. They don't have to shoot 500, but like, you know, try to get 440, 450, because that will give you a good weight. But yeah, no, so you have the spine of the arrow. Again, I don't want to get like too caught up in it. Trying to keep this simple. I'm all about trying to keep, don't overthink it, right? I mean, you can go and look at arrows and buy a bunch of different shafts and sit in your backyard and playing. If you like doing that, do it, that's cool. But like, if you're the average person who works a full-time job and you don't have time to really do that, just again, go to your local pro shop, talk to them, buy a dozen arrows, put 100, 125, 150 grain broadheads. I shoot 150 grain broadheads, but I can understand why some people won't, because they're hard to find. And I know a lot of people, including myself, I like to try to be able to use stuff that I can readily get. I don't have to order a lot of stuff. That's another reason why I went back down to 500 grain arrows, is the components I needed to make the arrows heavier, I had to order. And middle of the season, it's November, I'm like, let me get 6 more practice arrows. I don't have to go online and order. And then I just want to go to my pro shop and be like, hey guys, I need six arrows. And all right, cut it for me, throw the inserts in, and I walk out the door in 5 minutes. And I mean, I can go right now and buy 6 arrows, but if I have to order, I have to wait a week and to get it, and it's just a hassle. I just want to make it easier on myself. They're there for a reason, and I'm also going to support their business too, because the guys, they're cool guys. But yeah, just try to make it a little simple, easier. It's the technology in today's world with everything, especially with hunting, has changed drastically. I know back in the day, my dad was hunting with aluminum arrows, and you think he sat there and fiddled with his arrows and this and that. No, he just bought arrows, shot it. All right, I'm hitting the pie plate, put your broadheads on, walked out, deer walked out 20 yards, shot the deer, and it died. Like, it's that simple, really. I mean, in a nutshell. I mean, I know there's a lot more that goes on to it, but you just don't overthink it, right? Especially if you're new, just go out, talk to your local pro shop, talk to them. They're gonna steer you in the right direction, and if they don't, then they're gonna lose business from you. I mean, they want your business, so they're gonna help you the best they can. And again, just shoot what feels best for you. As I said, I recommend Victory VAP TKOs because that's what I shoot. I like the fact they come with inserts, 50 grains. Gives you a little bit more weight up front. Just arrow again flies a little better, and you get better penetration in the deer. They're also thinner, so you get better penetration, and that's a huge thing, is just penetration. And I know a lot of people get on like which fletchings they should shoot and this and that. As I said, I go to the shop and I buy them like this. And guess what? I shoot ear, no problem with it. They shoot straight, no problem. I don't need a jig that, let me go put this in a jig and make a left helical and this and that, this and that. Can you? Yeah. But on the same hand, I'm not out there hunting. I'm not a target archer, right? I'm not shooting for a living. I'm not hunting for a living. I'm not doing none of that. I'm just hunting because I love to hunt, and I want just an arrow that will perform and do what I need to do and shoot good at 40 yards. And these, in my experience, I've never had a problem with this. I mean, at 45 yards, I was shooting 2-inch groupings with these arrows. You know, I wasn't shooting broadheads, but again, I was shooting, you know, sub 2-inch groupings at 45 yards the other day with these arrows. Do I really need an arrow that is spec to like 0.001 with a left helical and this and that? No, it's these arrow. I'm not good enough to tell that big of a difference, and I'm doing it in target. So I'm not gonna make it too difficult than what it has to be. And then in my experience, when I try to like kind of tinker a little bit, then I don't get the performance that I like. And the simple, go to a store, buy an arrow, and just put like 150 grain tip on, or 125, or whatever tip you want, and then have the shop tune your bow to the arrow. Boom, you're done. That's it. You're done. It'll shoot great. Put whatever butt head you want on it, and you're done. I mean, there's no sense to make it more difficult than what it has to. And that's pretty much all I have to say. As I said, a little quick recap. Look for arrows. Depending upon your budget, a little bit more money will give you a little bit better arrow, maybe a little bit more durable, a little thinner, it will fly a little better, and will give you more penetration. A little bit more weight up front, in my opinion, doesn't hurt. Don't go too overboard where it'll mess up your spine. And your spine is just how stiff the arrow is. And if you're shooting 74 pounds at a 29-inch draw, you're obviously going to need like a 300 spine. And if you're shooting 58 pounds with a 27-inch draw, then you're going to need a 400. But if you're shooting 60 pounds at 28-inch draw, but you're putting 300 grains up front, then you're going to need like a 350. Something like that. That's just basically the spine in a nutshell. Again, my opinion, a little weight up front doesn't hurt. Don't go overboard, or if you want to go overboard, do it, but I wouldn't go too far overboard, because it's going to start messing up your trajectory, and no one wants to miss a deer because they misjudged it by 3 yards. And don't go too caught up in the veins and making your own fletching. You just go to the post shop. These arrows, they just fly straight, and they fly good, and I never had a problem with it. You know, just simple average person. If you want to get too tinkery in it, you go ahead, do it. But this is more geared to that guy who is like me, who works 5 days a week and just hunts when he can and doesn't want to have to really worry too much about his setup. And my local pro shop, they're good guys, and my bow's perfectly tuned because I bought arrows from them. A couple days later, I came back here to make sure my bow's all tuned up, and boom, it's shooting bullet holes. And I walk out the yard and I'm shooting 2-inch groupings at 40-50 yards, no problem. So, and that's it in a nutshell. Thanks for watching, and in probably like a week, we'll hopefully have a video in a nutshell about broadheads up. Thank you, and have a good life. Enjoy hunting.